Hello and welcome to my channel, The Movie Babe. Today we are going to discuss the movie Passing, starring Tessa Thompson and Ruth Negga. This movie takes place in Harlem in the 1920s. And of course, in the 1920s, racial tensions were high. There were still very much problems, of course, that were heightened during that time. But during that time, especially even I think before that time, I'm not big of a history buff here, but there were African Americans that would pass as white, and that is what this whole movie is about. You have two old childhood friends, and mind you, this movie was based off a book called Passing, and this is really like an adaptation of the novel. And so you have two friends, of course, played by the beautiful Ruth Negga and Tess Thompson. You have Irene and Claire. And this movie is set in black and white, and it is beautifully has beautiful cinematography, and the way it just captures, it's not in color of course, but the way it just captures the feelings and emotions of the actors is just beautiful and mesmerizing in those moments that really capture the essence of their humanity and their sorrow and their grief and their frustrations of going through this like identity crisis. Like in the beginning, you see Irene, and she was in a store, and these two white ladies dropped something, and the white ladies looked at her, and they didn't even blink an eye. They were like, "Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you." I mean, I could tell that. Excuse me. I could tell that when they looked at her, it was like a little. They weren't hesitant at all, but you could just. Well, I could tell. Like they were a little, not like taken back, but like, okay, she is white, but there's something different about her. But they didn't really go into it. But for the context of the movie, in that scenario, she is white passing, and so because of that, because she is white passing, like I said, in the context of this movie, she is able to move through life more conveniently, better than, let's say, a darker skinned person, a darker skinned female would. Person would, especially during that time. And so there are a few good quotes in here that really stood out when I was watching this film. And one of them was when Irene said, "We are all passing for something or other, aren't we?" And I think she said this when her and Claire was sitting on the step. And that really hit home for me because, in a way, we have all of us, black, white, dark skin, light skin, white skin, we all have some type of privilege. We all, to one extent or another, can get away with some things. Everyone has some type of privilege, even if we don't believe it. It could be the most minute thing or the biggest thing, but we all have some type of privilege. For some reason or another, back in middle school, and I ended up not having major detention, which was like, say, after school for like an hour or two or something. But because, and this was for plagiarism, back in my middle school. Wait, was it middle school or high school? One of them. And it was in grade school, okay? And I didn't get major detention because I guess it was my first offense, but plagiarism was a big thing. I did the whole Coyote Ugly thing, and I didn't get in trouble. But I say that to say that everybody has some type of privilege. And it's good to recognize it, be self-aware of it, because it can help you, of course. But it is good to recognize what type of privilege you have, even if it isn't, whether it's privilege, academic privilege. Everyone has some type of privilege. And another thing that stood out to me, another quote that stood out to me, was when Irene met Claire's husband, John, who is white, and John is unaware that he married a full-blown African-American woman, but of course she is white passing. And so they were conversing, and a few uncomfortable conversations went down. One of them was Irene said, "So you dislike ends?" Eggers, Mr. Bellew, and he's like, no, I hate them, but not as much as Nig. For so much so, she's trying to turn into one, and of course, Irene is completely taken back by that statement, while they both just laugh nonchalantly about it, and she's just taken back by it. And of course, that is an uncomfortable situation when you're looking across the room from Claire, and she's a full blown black African American woman, and you're just like casually just laughing about that. And that doesn't, Claire so much so wanted to, like, I believe she really wanted to morph into a white person, and that's why she was so jealous, in my opinion, of Irene, because she saw Irene was happy, but at the same time she could see that from the outside. And of course she hung around with Irene's family and husband and everything, and the kids love her. Even the husband was more jelly when Claire was around, and of course Irene took offense to that, because she's like, oh my god, why is he so happy when she comes around? Oh, she lights up the room so much so. And I felt that possibly Irene was a little bit jealous of Claire in that sense as well, because her husband, because she did marry a dark-skinned African American husband, and she had two dark-skinned kids. And and even though Irene in the movie said she was content with herself, content with her life, why wasn't she content with showing the truth about the lynching when her husband brought it up to the kids? If you were so content in that space, in that headspace that you're at, with saying with your husband bringing up the lynching that happened recently in that context to a man, and why weren't you content with that? You don't seem content with yourself if you're trying to avoid talking to your kids about what could possibly happen to them, because they are what they are in America. And so I felt that Irene as well was trying to hold on to some of that privilege as well, and she didn't want to talk about it. She didn't want to be around it, even though she was in the influx, even though she was in the nitty gritty dirty. She wanted to marry a dark skinned man. She wanted to have, and came out with dark skinned kids. Now, is that what her husband wanted? I don't know. He seemed content with it, but in my opinion, Irene did not. And maybe Irene as well would wonder what it was like to have a white husband, but seeing what Claire went through, she doesn't seem content as well. And so there's positives and negatives to every situation. And Irene knew that, and Claire knew that. I believe, in a way, since they haven't seen each other in a long time, and they were both old school friends, and now coming back together, and they see so much have changed, and what their lives are like. I believe that, like, Claire maybe wanted a little inkling of her life, but Irene was she was like the head of, like, the black committee or something like that, so she was deep in the affairs of African American people. That was her thing. But on the end, she had that white associate of hers, but at the same time, like, she really didn't seem fully in the headspace where she wanted to be, where she wanted to go. And even though she was white passing in the context of this film, like, even though she could say she's content all she wants, she didn't seem content at all. And like I said, if you're so content in yourself, if you're so self-aware of yourself, I think she was trying so hard to be black, that she was trying to be white, if that makes sense. Because she was trying, while Claire was trying so hard to be white, she wanted to be black. If you get what I mean, right? And so this film touches on so many different issues within America, within a nuclear family, within identity and race in general, and it touches on so many things. And I'm happy I was able to see this movie on Netflix, as it really opened my eyes to a lot of things. And if you want to see more movies reviews, check out me, the movie babe. See you later.